Hello. Hello. This is good?
Yeah.
Ready? Mr. Speaker, opening up identified two benefits to this move, right? You'll attract better students and you'll improve the quality and quantity of research, right? What did closing government tell us? They told us that, you know what, this whole relationship of the university and the student lies outside the domain of research, and your complete ideological autonomy, right? All stuff that we're going to take down, right? But before that, what do I want to tell you, right? The basic thing that you must understand in a recessionary context when R&D funding is going down is that research and development only pays if it generates value to society. No one is endlessly going to keep doling out money if that research does not generate value for society, because it's only when you generate value for society does someone pay up for that money, right? For example, the internet. If it wasn't used, no one would pay for it, no one would get the money out of it, right? But so let's go on. I'll leave with all of the rebuttals. But before that, I think I need to clarify the context and the paradigm in which research happens. Right? We'll be able to understand all these arguments much better then, right? The first is the nature of research. We think research is a hit and miss activity, 1 in a million things like works out, right? That's why we have so many firms developing cancer cures in so many different ways, right? You never know which one will work out, right? So many ways to think about alternative energy. So we tell you that somebody is taking a huge risk by finding this one particular student who's doing this one particular methodology for this one particular solution, right? And we tell you that now I'm going to go into two things: a risk-reward analysis and an analysis of potentiality, risk-reward analysis. Right? We must understand that the model that they are proposing is unsustainable because it's one party which is bearing the risk and the other party which is getting the reward. Right? The university takes the risks of funding you. Right? The university takes the risk of funding you, setting up the infrastructure, sharing all that IP and JSTOR and all of the beautiful things that Pranay said. Right? But if you lock the rewards up with the student, Mr. Speaker, right, then the people who actually put in or who made that bet on you and took those huge risks will not be compensated enough. In a time when, in recessionary times, when you're not getting enough funding in the first place, we tell you it's a crime to take away this from society, that extra research funding which can lead to more developments, right? We think that it's unsustainable. I think in a way, right? The second thing is, Mr. Speaker, when you get in, right, to a university, right, they already pay you a stipend which is quite significant, right? Now, why am I bringing this up? It's because you are paid for your potentiality already. When I joined Stanford, I've not made any big invention, but they were still paying me a substantial PhD, doctoral fee or whatever to stay there, right? So when I actually go and make that awesome thing, then it's unfair for the student to say, hey, you know what, now I want to claim the benefit on this. Because the university was already benefiting you by giving you that huge stipend in the first place when you've not done anything in life. Right? No thanks. I'll take you in a bit, right? So this is the context in which you must understand research. And now let's get a bit of rebuttal. Right? Before that.
Okay. Universities often has research as a part of their mission, and we've talked about how they contribute a huge amount towards facilities, existing IP, mentorship, etc. You're not attacking the part about citations at all, but even on compensation, we told you only get a share of the additional compensation that has been enabled by your original research.
Okay, fine. So, clarification. One, if their academic ethics committees are good enough to give, some subjective valuation of how much a monetary compensation could be, then we think that the ethics committees can also get the professors to cite the people who work on the document. Right? Mr. Speaker, we think that on side opposition, we stand for citation but not for monetary compensation. Right? Mr. Speaker, why is this important? That's because the whole credit stealing argument rested on the fact that no one would be cited and then professors or the students would know who's good, etc. We're not okay with monetary compensation there. Right? But Mr. Speaker, the first thing that we need to come and let me go and rebut closing argument, right? They came up and told us that the student is paying the university. Quite the opposite. As a PhD doctoral fellow, you get a stipend. So the whole premise of that argument falls down, right? But the second thing we tell you is that, you know what? Universities are not there to facilitate students and make them richer. Universities are there to generate value to society. Things like IIT Bombay, right, which Pranay himself said that we're there to make India a better place, right? So we tell you that in that context, you must do what will generate more value to society. We tell you blocking up research and letting students claim credit and block it at multiple levels will not generate that value to society that you want. No, so we don't see this outside the domain argument that CG was trying to fly, right? But the second thing, right, on this whole complete ideological like autonomy over its use, right? One, they keep assuming the case where, the university is the evil guy and the student is the good guy, right? You can have students go ahead and publish their papers only in $500 journals like Elsevier so that they get the credit, right? Because these journals tend to have the maximum credit. So we don't think that you can keep painting this, singular picture. There's a spectrum of issues, and we think that you can't claim ideological autonomy simply on this one dirty example of a bad student. But the second thing we tell you is that if you're okay with their model, where the student will get paid some bit and the university can use it anyways, the university is using it anyways, you're not getting any benefit out of that. No, right? The next big thing you must understand, Mr. Speaker, is everything big and important will already have to consent, right? Mr. Speaker, when I was applying to Stanford, I was so desperate to get in, right? That I would have totally signed that dotted line which said that anything that you produce which is original can be used by university. So we tell you that, are you really creating any value to the students? No. Why? That's because all of your term paper answers, etc., would have been covered anyway. But all of those good professors which might have shared some monetary benefit, even that won't come to the students now, because now professors will become standard university policy to take pre-consent. Right? Now, Mr. Speaker, let's talk a little about research and how to be blocked and how society will not benefit. Right? First, what will be the blocks? I've already spoken to you about costs increasing, right? Mr. Speaker, we think good students will be dissuaded from entering research, brilliant students will be dissuaded because when the societal benefits reduce, so do the payoffs, right? Why do the societal benefits reduce? Right? That's because when you have, today research more than ever before is multidisciplinary, right? Mechanical plus electrical is equal to robotics. So if you have students blocking them at each of their levels, right, you won't have research coming together and making one useful product, right? So society will not benefit. The second thing is, Mr. Speaker, this research the university will share this with other brilliant students who will then develop it, right? So Mr. Speaker, the third thing we tell you is so given that these are all the blocks that are there, so society will not be creating any value out of this. If you're not creating any value out of this, you're not going to get paid out of this. If you don't get paid out of this, you won't attract brilliant students, Mr. Speaker. At the end, you're not improving research, you're not attracting good students, society, schools will start having pre-consent clauses, you don't understand the nature of research, we're proud to oppose.